What's up, brothers and sisters? Kunal here, Bulls on Wall Street. Nice bounce day in the stock market. The QQQ, the SPY, IWM all had a little bit of green today, but the big story was that speculation came back into the market. We saw nice runs in crypto stocks, nuclear, some of the things that had been leading the way about a week and some change ago that were the first ones to fall. And so we had some speculation come back with the mid caps, small caps, and some of the high flyers, and we needed to see that. The market itself has held support here, and after 5 down days, we kind of held right into this layer of demand here, as this was the kind of the old breakout spot. And so overall, we did fade a little bit into the close, but I thought the action today was very, very positive. And, overall, I would consider today a bullish day. So let's take a look at the indexes and the game plan. So the SPY here has just retested, back into the old breakout spot from where we started running from the election candle. But then this was also kind of the flat top breakout level. So we have multiple things that are going for us. Beyond that, you also have, your 20 SMA here. And so you've pulled right back into the bone zone. That's the area between the 9 and 20 EMA. And so you got yourself a nice candle to hold here. And my guess is if we don't gap down big tomorrow or anything like that, there's no weird news, then we'll probably kind of drift our way back here. And we may not break out right away, but we should start to fill at least this gap here. I think that's kind of the fair target for, tomorrow. If we can hold here, let's fill that gap a little bit and see what's going on the QQQs. We have here also a gap around the same spot, so you can see here, right? We just got this nice area that we need to come into. So what I want to do is if we break over Friday's high, then, I want to get aggressive and start pushing into this gap here. And then that would also be a remount of the 9 EMA. So we'll have multiple spots and multiple things going for us. I think that's all looking, pretty bullish. And then, beyond that, you can see here, the IWM is still having some trouble. It looked like it was holding for a hot second, and we ended up with just kind of a flat day. You could see the open and close were right around the same spots. We had a couple wicks on the both downside. And so the action here was on IWM was, we popped up and then we faded it back. But the big hairy Indian but is that a lot of the IWM kind of names or names that are associated with the IWM looked fantastic today. You had a lot of mid caps and smaller names going, in terms of nuclears and stuff like that. And so I think the speculation was pretty good. And the main thing is always to think when you're doing your scans and you're looking at the indexes, what was the individual price action like? Were there breakouts? Was there follow through? Was there money flying in? And I would say that, we had all of that. And so let's take a look at our watch list here and just see what the heck we got going on. And so I'll start from the top here. So SYM has got earnings after hours. I think this will be in play tomorrow. You're remounting the 200-day moving average. It's a low float stock. Only 41 million shares in float. So you've got a potential here to get going. Now it's up 30%, so it's going to probably have to set up, either do some type of ORB or quick pullback buy at the open, and then we roll into it. Beyond that, MSTR, dude, I had this thing multiple times today and sold early both times. We added this thing right in the open around, I think, a little bit under 348, and then I added again at 351, and dude, I sold out here and just called it a day and took the victory lap like a piker. And then, lo and behold, a couple hours later, I come back from doing the Lord's work at the gym, and then this thing had come all the way to 388. So I was feeling pretty good. And then you come back and you got this thing running. And that's the thing with this market. The heat is on. and the ATRs are expanding, and you're getting even more range than you would think. You know, you get 10, 20 points on something, you're thinking, hey, man, I got hot shit going on. Next thing you know, stock's up 40, 50 points. You know, keep that always in. And these dips, you know, you'll see this a lot. This is a sign of a bullish stock. You know, they'll grind for a couple hours in the midday, and you'll dump off. You'll break under the VWAP. You'll suck in the shorts, and then boom, right off to the races for an end-of-day push. That's like your classic bull market trap setup. Coin, very, very similar. We've got a spot here that, you know, if we break 330, where can it go to? You know, maybe you got 370 and then 400s in the cards. I mean, on an overall longer-term basis, you know, it's got really some room, because if you look at here where it's clearing space, right, like you're clearing all this space out here, and we don't have any real resistance till that level. And this is more of probably a psychological resistance than an actual, right, big honking level. You know, it's just an old fade spot. So I wouldn't even consider that a major spot, more of a, you know, mental level. And you can see here, right, you had the gap down, you tested into some support from the previous day, and then boom, you were off to the races, red to green, and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And then later on, you pulled back into the VWAP. Bam, like that's all you can ask for. When I'm looking and doing my scans, like I want to see how are stocks acting? Are they following the things that I follow, right? You know, I use moving averages, price action, volume, right? These kind of handful of things, and very specific ones. So are these stocks following what I like to follow, right? It doesn't matter if, you know, somebody's using MACD or this or that. Like, you know, I'm not using those things, right? So like this stock's working with what I got, and they are, right? Because I'm a momentum trader. So I really like this one. A-Lab, you know, after this earnings pop, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. 6 down days, trigger oversold reading, remounted the 9 here. I think that's a swing setup right there with 100 breakout in the cards. Looks fantastic. It really does. I mean, that's clean. And, you know, nice $13 billion. That's a sweet spot for earnings plays. This was your earnings here, because it's like, it's not a small cap, but, you know, it's not a large cap either, right? This is like your definition of mid cap name right here. 136 million float, right? $13 billion company, a recent IPO, like that's the spot you want to get into. AFRM, you know, we've been talking about this stock for days. It was on the watch list yesterday. Guys, this thing took off, did an ORB, and then boom, it was off to the races. I want to keep day trading this. The swing setup is over. If you were going to swing trade, you had it 2 days ago. If you're going to day trade, you can keep doing it, because if you look left here, dude, you're clearing out so many levels here. This is a multi-year breakout. This kind of 55, 50 range was huge, right? And so big level. You're starting to clear it out. Any weakness on this, I think we're buyers on this. We want to come in and keep hitting this thing. NNE. NNE. You know, no, right? You got this thing. Woo. Test. I mean, you really probably need 26 to break, but it's got a level here. Now, look, this stock is a big gelatinous turd, but old Ken Griffin came out and said, you know, he's really into nuclear. I don't even know what that means, right? Like, he's into nuclear. Which nuclears, right? Probably not this one, but they all started to push. This one, I think, you know, the Smart Nation probably is going to look pretty good. I think both of those can be in play. This one looks better because it's got more liquidity. It was up 17%. And dude, look at the way this thing was. Gap up, pull back down, bam, flag, bam, right? Come back into the 50 EMA. Won't even test the VWAP. I mean, that's a heater, right? If you got a stock that won't even come back and test the VWAP at some point that day, like that's really a lot of heat. Gotta love the look on this thing. Keep an eye on that. Vistra, I believe this is a utility that also deals with some of this, you know, kind of sector momentum. I wouldn't say it's a nuclear company, but it tends to run with some of these things. You got a flat top breakout that's kind of in the works here. It's a little bit of a butterface. Like you got to kind of change around the angles a little bit, but I like the look of it. App, put a spot right here. 302. That's the level that's been kind of testing around. Man, this could go tomorrow. It really could. It's starting to tighten up. SQ, this was on the blog yesterday. You had this nice pullback into the 9 EMA. Guys, in a bull market, when you get a thrust and then a bust back down to the 9 EMA and you got an overall longer-term breakout, dude, that's a buenos, man. That's a buenos. You know, all dips on this one. We want to be a buyer. This has got $100 roll and then some all over it. And also, it tends to pick up steam with crypto, too, for some reason. You know, it's got some component of that in there. The Hood Nation, they got a $40 upgrade from Needham today, and it took it out of the flag. I think this one's 40 million shares of volume. Dude, we got to roll with this thing, too. SC, you know, I'm not into some of these China names. This is really more of a Singapore name, but it tends to run together. You know, you had this run on earnings, and then you pulled back into the bone zone and the old breakout spot. Man, nice little wick there. Bam, and you pop through this thing. I mean, this is a buenos. This, to me, also looks like you got kind of 120 in the cards. I like the look. It's got good liquidity on it. Let's keep an eye on that. And then, look, MBLY had a nice day on this kind of autonomous driving news from, I believe, the Department of Transportation, maybe. There was a piece of news out that they're looking into, right, drivers, self-driving cars, autonomous things. Tesla faded off a little bit, but this one actually held up and closed near highs. You can see Tesla, you know, we had a nice trade on it. We took it at the open at 339. I took the calls on it. It popped, it popped decent, but then it rolled back over. MBLY held up, so, you know, I think that's a good spot too. Beyond that, I got AAY here. Keep a spot here at 29.25 is really the spot here. If it can clear that, you're going to have yourself a spot. It did kind of roll over here today, so maybe have to back and fill that. Docs, big pull, big pop, pull back into the bone zone, guys. You know, if you're a swing trader, pull back into the bone zone after an earnings move is a top level, high level play. And this is also can be day traded here. And then I'm watching this Lumens here. This is a $10 stock. You came back into the breakout spot. You're into the bone zone here. A little bit deeper of a pullback than I personally like, but we're almost testing it. You know, one weakness on this tomorrow. Gap down on this tomorrow, I think we long it. So, guys, that's the list. I'm sticking to it, all right? Let me know if you have any questions. I love you guys. Let's go shred tomorrow.